boom, I'm starting a new series. And if you really just want to see reviews and then a movie clips, then skip to this time marker, because I do really need to introduce this one. Okay, so the infamous video nasties. A long story short, back in the early 80s in the UK, when the home video market exploded, there was no certification of any sort for these movies, at least not on video. So every video distribution company could just release whatever they wanted and everybody could go out and buy or rent those movies. This was of course a big problem with all the violent horror movies being released, and soon there was moral panic with authorities scared that the youth of the nation would grow up to become whacked out serial killers. So that's when they started to prosecute certain movies under an old Obscene Publications Act, you know, in order to get them banned or at least heavily cut. And while this was going on, there grew a lot of confusion under video distribution companies and video rental store owners about, you know, like what movies could get them in trouble for releasing or you know, like have them in their store. And that's when the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, made a list with all the movies that were prosecuted or were about to be prosecuted, like were going to be prosecuted in the future. At one time or another, 72 movies appeared on that list, and those titles became known as the video nasties. Only 39 were successfully prosecuted, so you could say that those are the real video nasties. But for this series, I'm going to take a look at all 72 movies that have appeared on the infamous DPP's Video Nasties list. Check out the documentary Video Nasties, Moral Panic, Censorship and Videotape for a very insightful view on the whole phenomena. Fantastic movie, and you get it on DVD, there's a shit ton of extras. For me, it's actually really just an excuse to take a look at some old, you know, often crappy B horror movies. And that's cool, that's exciting, because that's basically how I started this channel all those years ago. Also because, well, you know, like the disturbing movie series, that was quite popular, I guess. And if you think of it, these movies were at one point also considered to be disturbing by some silly people, that is, but hey, that's cool. So without further ado, the video nasties. I'm gonna go through the list alphabetically with the titles as they appeared on the DPP's Video Nasties list, which means that we're gonna start with Absurd, known under a gazillion other titles such as Rosso Sangue, is that how you pronounce it? A Horrible, a Monster Hunter, and Anthropophagus 2, as in the sequel to Anthropophagus, another video nasty. So let's take a look. Although it's not really that much of a sequel to Anthropophagus, besides that they're both directed by Joey D'Amato, here under the fake name Peter Newton, and that they both star George Eastman as a monstrous killer. If anything, it feels more like a sequel to Halloween, where the Beastman, that's Michael Myers, and in the role of the obsessive man trying to hunt him down, we have this guy. It's our favorite Dean, we all know, from Motherfucking Pieces. Yeah. We even hear some music in this movie that we would later hear in Pieces. I even danced to it in my Pieces review. Anyway, I saw the uncut and paste version, as this guy cleverly calls it, which means that they tried to make the movie as complete as possible with footage from different sources, so the quality changes dramatically with certain shots. The movie itself, it's pretty bad actually. What's the story? This guy goes and kills people? It's just a lame excuse to have some gory killings. I mean, that's where all the fun is, but these moments are too scarce and far apart. In between, we spend way too much time watching people watching a football game and a girl who doesn't know how to open these belt locks.
Let me in!
What is she doing?
Open the door!
That annoyed me way more than it should have had. This movie was most likely made to cash in on the growing market of slasher films in the early 80s. And that's basically what this is, just another 80s slasher, but then an Italian production. I mean, Americans eating spaghetti during a football match? Yeah, right. It's really not that memorable. Well, I mean, you got people tripping on flat surfaces, cut phone lines, and fake scare moments, all that good stuff, but I guess it's rather forgettable. The last shot, the very, very last shot, is pretty cool though. That was kind of a spoiler, I guess. Maybe I should have mentioned that. Although, probably nobody cares. I really didn't mind watching the movie though. I mean, yeah, sure, I was pretty bored while doing so, but I've definitely seen worse, and we'll definitely encounter worse when we go through this list. Speaking of the list, Not sure why this one was on there. It wasn't particularly gory or violent or anything. Maybe just because its prequel was on the list too, which we're gonna take a look at now. Just pick a title. Anthropophagus. With or without the H at the beginning, or with OU at the end, or Anthropophagus the Beast, or the Grim Reaper. Apparently it's also known as Zombie 7, which is amazing since its sequel, which isn't really a sequel, is apparently also known as Zombie 6. This can only turn out to be great. I already spent some 11 minutes talking about this one some 4 years ago in a video review where I call this movie Anthropophagus, so I'll keep it short. Basically, this movie is mostly infamous for one scene, where this cannibalistic monster rips the fetus out of a pregnant woman and starts eating it. And it is, of course, pretty crazy. The other infamous scene is, well, sort of a spoiler, so spoiler alert. At the end, he also eats his own guts. Yeah, good stuff. And the concept is pretty good. A group of people visit an island only to find nobody there, and later find out it's because there's a deranged flesh-eating beastman walking around. Simple, but good. It's just that, oh man, this one is so badly written. The setup is so bad that this group of friends, they changed their whole vacation plans just because this girl that they met like 3 seconds ago needs a lift to another island. The island does serve as a great location though, just as these catacombs. Just like we saw in Absurd, the killings are the most interesting part. They're just, again, too few and far apart. And it's a shame, because honestly, I think the monster is pretty damn cool. Could have been a memorable, iconic horror villain. It's just, the movie is so badly made. Joey D'Amato, the director, he's known for having made a lot of movies for just a quick buck, not caring too much about good screenplays or production values. That's why this movie would actually be a great candidate for a, like a gory, throwback 80s horror remake. I would definitely watch that. And no, not the Andreas Schnaas remake. Although I don't like everything about my older videos, check out my Anthropophagus review for more insight, where, among other things, I explain why it's really not that hard to not trip while walking a flat surface. Well, great movie so far. I'm actually having lots of fun with this series already, and I'm excited to go through the whole list with you guys, but let me just share that with you. So, next, we have Axe. I believe it was made and finished in 1974 under its original title Lisa Lisa, but it wasn't released until 1977 when it was renamed to Axe, or California Axe Massacre. I'm not making this shit up. Well, let's see. This is a pretty low-budget movie, which is evident in the fact that it looks like they couldn't even afford a bar of hand soap that hasn't been used up for 95% already. Fortunately, it's only 68 minutes long, so can't be that boring, except that it probably will be. Oh, these opening credits take forever. Frederick R. Friedel, what a name. That's actually the director of this movie. So... and introducing Leslie Lee. So, a lot of alliterations going on here. Axe. So, Axe tells the story of these three. Well, I initially thought that they were cops or something, but I guess they're bad guys. They killed a guy and now need to lay low for a while, which they do at the house of Lisa and her grandpa. It's pretty bad though. Camera work, lighting, editing, the effects, the acting, not that great. The audio is so bad that half the time I can barely hear what they're saying.
Eating raw eggs? I do feel sorry for you.
They got me with the special effects though. I mean, that is literally just ketchup. I mean, literally. I have to say, it's a pretty cool gag. Even Lisa herself is a little bored. I mean, look at her. But that's kind of her thing, with her whole monotone delivery.
What do you want?
It does have something eerie to it. I don't know why this movie was on the list, to be honest. I mean, it's not particularly graphic or anything. It does contain one of the worst rape attempts I've seen in a long time. But you know what? I really didn't hate it. And if not everything about it was so bad, it would have definitely been a half-decent exploitation flick. But now, in all its 70s crappiness, I feel like its heart was in the right place. The dull music is strangely addictive and I don't know, I sort of liked it. I would definitely watch it again. I do believe that if it wasn't for the name change from Lisa to X, it would have never ended up on the Video Nasties list. And if it never ended up on the Video Nasties list, it would have probably been forgotten pretty much by now. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's out there and people are still watching it to this day. And that's kind of awesome. Okay, next up we have The Beast in Heat. The first of many Nazi-exploitation flicks I will see on this list. Most of which were made to cash in on the success of Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, a movie that I talked about during one of my Disturbing Movies videos. This one is known under other fantastic titles such as SS Experiment Camp 2. Let's take a look. Assuming this would just be another cheap Ilsa ripoff, I expected mostly just tasteless torture scenes, so I found myself surprised by the fact that there's actually a lot going on story-wise. Well, it isn't great of course, but besides the Ilsa-inspired lieutenant sexually torturing innocent women, we follow a group of partisans working with priests, spies and an Italian Charles Bronson trying to put a stop to the Nazis. Unfortunately, for the movie, they couldn't get the rights to the Nazi swastika symbol, so they had to mirror it. Either that, or they honestly had no idea whether the Nazi swastika is left-facing or right-facing. Or am I being the dumb one here? Anyway, the torture is quite extreme, I guess, or as this lady puts it,
You're hurting me!
but it all looks so cheap and fake. I mean, guinea pigs are obviously known for being ferocious, flesh-eating monsters, right? The best of all this torture stuff is definitely the titular Beast in Heat, a drugged up, raping sex fiend of a guy. It's so ridiculous that you can't take any of the poor rape attempts serious. It's almost as bad as in X. When we're not witnessing half-man, half-beast violating young girls, we follow the German soldiers infiltrating the nearby village, where the women conveniently don't wear underwear, and where the soldiers murder the elderly and throw babies in the air and shoot them down. Ha! If it wasn't all so ridiculously over the top and poorly made, it would have been quite a vile little movie. The biggest problem, however, though, is that it's just rather dull. Not that much happens. At one point the movie turns from Nazi-exploitation into a Euro war flick with a long shootout scene, but even this is pretty dull. Well, okay, that was pretty cool. But all in all, not that memorable. Besides the Beast in Heat himself. I mean, look at him go. It's crazy. I can understand why this movie was on the Video Nasties list though. Same goes for many of the other Nazi exploitation movies that we'll encounter later in the list. It's just, for a subgenre with so much exploitation potential, if you will, they're really usually not that great. Oh well. So for the last movie on today's video, we're gonna take a look at the movie that's widely known as The Beyond. But still, just like every other movie in this list today, it's known under some other titles as well. Considered to be quite a classic of 80s Italian horror, I myself, I've always liked this one too. It's just, when I recently rewatched it again, after some years, for this video, I didn't realize that it's actually not that well made. But okay, well, let's just see. The Beyond. It's classic Lucio Fulci, a director known among other things for making movies with very nonsensical storylines. Here we have a lady who inherits an old hotel that is, built on one of the 7 gates of hell. Of course. So, and because of that, crazy shit happens all over the place. And as straightforward as that may be, almost nothing in this movie makes sense. Here you have a random scene. This woman and her daughter casually walk in the hospital where, without anyone trying to stop her, she walks into the autopsy room, even though it clearly says, "Do not entry." Here she dresses her deceased husband until she is startled by something that we as the viewer never see. And then next thing you know, she's on the floor with acid dripping on her face. Is that cool? Of course. But does it make sense? Of course not. It's really not even that well directed. Some of the dialogue seems off.
Hi, Larry. How's it going?
Oh, good morning. I'm going to have this whole wall finished by tonight.
Great.
Bye.
And some reactions are just so weird. Yes, ma'am, that is a dead body. But still, I can't help but to like this movie. It has a certain atmosphere that we see in a lot of Fulci movies. The cinematography, the music by Fabio Frizzi, the effects. The effects. Besides nonsensical plots, Fulci is known for the gore in his movies. And this one is pretty gory. Check this one out, I love this one. Boom! and he definitely has a thing for eyes. So in the end, it's pretty cool. It has some rather iconic scenery and, well, basically everything that doesn't make sense can be excused by saying, well, there's a gate of hell. What did you expect? Of course crazy shit is going to happen. And you know, this randomness even sorta adds to the creepiness in a weird way. The Beyond is the first movie on this list that was not successfully prosecuted back in the video NASTIES days. But ironically, it's, for me at least, the best movie on this list so far. The next part is gonna be a bloody one, title-wise. You know, because we're entering the BL section of the alphabet. So that's probably gonna be a lot of fun again, but for now, have a nice day.